Welcome to the Clear to Close podcast. My name is Ryan Bolton. I'm a local mortgage expert, and with me as always is Carson Jones with Team Honey. He's part of the Realty ONE Group Goldmark here in St. George. And today we want to talk about why now is the best time to buy a home. So what I want to talk about is some of the numbers that we've seen and how hard it's been on homeowners over the last couple of years, especially first time, maybe second time buyers, because we saw a market that had great interest rates, but home prices were just kind of going up. But that wasn't really the scariest part. The home would be priced maybe correctly at say $400,000, but it would sell for $450,000. Some cash buyer would sweep in and buy it. Or maybe you needed 100% financing, a veteran loan, some of these loan programs, and you'd put your offer in and you'd be fully qualified, great client, and somebody would come in with cash and they'd take that offer instead. So I had people that couldn't even get into a home because they were doing 100% financing, and it's like scared away sellers. But when you're a seller and you've got 13 different offers to choose from, which one are you going to take? Most likely the highest one or the one that's going to close the quickest. You know, those are the two different things. So financing was slower and most sellers just said no. So I know a lot of buyers that were just getting crazy frustrated because they'd have to send out 10 offers and they just get blown out of the water, even though they were well qualified.
And most of those people who were hesitant then, they said, well, it's too hard to buy a house. We find a house, sure, it's listed at $400,000, but we would have to offer $460,000 in order to actually get the house. And then all of a sudden towards the second half of 2022, then those buyers were now hesitant again for a completely different reason. They said, oh, well, now interest rates are too high. Okay, well, let's have interest rates drop back down to 3%. Now you have to, once again, offer way over asking price. So the fact of the matter is that it really always has been, but maybe even now more than ever, now is the best time for you to buy a house. And so you gotta, a lot of times, especially when interest rates are higher, use that to your advantage, because the good thing about interest rates is interest rates can always change for you. You can always refinance a house. There's a lot of lenders who will essentially pay for your refinance for you too, who will make it so that it's not actually that expensive for you to refinance on a home. So if you're just worried about interest rates, that could be a temporary problem, and it will be a temporary problem if that's going to be your biggest factor. With that said, you can't change the fact that when now interest rates are at 3%, great, I have a 3% interest rate, but that house that you could have bought when interest rates were high was $380,000, and now you're getting that same house for maybe an extra $100,000.
That's such a great point. I mean, it really just comes down to cash flow, comes down to the monthly payment. That's much more important than an interest rate. It's so funny. Everybody's always really worried about interest rates. But if I ask 10 homeowners right now what your rate is, they don't know.
Yeah.
It's 4 and something.
Yeah.
It's 4.18, 4.5. They don't know. They don't know the rate. What they know is their payment.
Yep.
They know their payment's $2,400 a month, and they know that payment is locked in. We talk about it like crazy. If you're renting, your payment will go up. It's no doubt your payment's going to go up, whether you renew or that seller or that owner sells the house and you got to go back into the market and find something else.
And you have the risk of just getting kicked out of the place, and now you...
Right.
Maybe when your lease is up, sorry, we're not going to renew.
And people are always worried about interest rates being at 6, which is much more normal than 3. That's way the exception by 3% of where interest rates really are. So 6% is much more normal. And it's something where your rate as you're renting is like 110%.
Yeah.
Because it's all going to somebody else's mortgage, and you're not getting any appreciation for it, and no tax benefits, nothing like that. So now, is it a jump to go from renting to owning? Usually, yes. For the same home, you can usually rent it a little bit cheaper than what it would cost to own that home, but you're losing out on so many other financial benefits. But I like to tell people it's not just about the money. That financial part of it's definitely an important part. Budgeting is very important. But there's a pride of home ownership. There's a chance you won't get kicked out. You'll have usually more amenities when you own a home, maybe a garage or your own space, your man caves, your backyard. You can have pets. I tell you what, some of those non-financial reasons is just as exciting to me.
Yeah.
Like being able to have a dog or a cat that you always want. It just adds so much value to my life to have that dog every time I come home.
Yeah.
Where rental, it's almost impossible to have a pet of any kind.
Right.
You can't put stuff on the walls. You can't change the colors of the walls. You can't change out maybe the flooring or the carpet, or there's so many more restrictions on owning. And for the privilege of renting, you're paying 110% interest.
Yeah.
So really, it's an incredible time to buy because we have some stars aligning. Yes, rates are higher than what they were, but home prices have stabilized and more options are available, and you're not competing as much with 15 other buyers that are willing to pay so much more, and you still can get access to Southern Utah, which, do you think home prices really are going to go way down in Southern Utah for the next 5 years? No. Do you think that rates are going to continue to maybe rise over the next 5 years? Probably. So this is a magic window. It really is.
It is. And once again, if you decide to just stay put, then if you decide to stay put for 7 months or 20 months, whatever it is, there's going to be another excuse to continue to stay put then. Right. So the problem is, the one thing that will change is your rent, and your rent is going to change no matter what. And I'm sorry to say, the rents aren't going to be dropping.
No.
And it's very rare that you see a landlord say, you know what, I think it's time for me to charge less money and start dropping my rates.
Well, and as prices go up, the debt servicing and rates and prices go up. When new investors buy the home, they have to rent it for more.
Yeah.
That's just the natural process of that rent. In fact, rents, if you look at the scale, they've gone up as much as any other index of anything else that you've seen. Rates did go up, prices went up, but rates, the cost of rents, have gone up way faster than the cost of money, of mortgage money, because they're buying the property at a more expensive amount, so they have to cash flow on the next thing. But I would say this is what's happened. A lot of people, maybe they have a rent they've had for 2 or 3 years. I have one client that was 10 years renting the same house, the same payment the whole time. But then he gets into the market now, and he's seeing he's catching up on all that rate increase, all that he has to catch up like overnight. And he's scrambling to find a place because he didn't buy during all those times. So it's funny how there's always a wait and see with buyers. Oh, I'm just going to wait till I have enough money for a down payment. Well, there's 100% out there. There's programs that are better with less money down than putting 20%. So don't worry about waiting on the down payment. Waiting to time the market perfectly, you're never going to, because there's always pluses and minuses in every single market. And rates are higher, but inventory is better, or whatever it is. So stop waiting. This is the year to buy a home. It's 2023. It's time to own a home. If you've been waiting and putting it off, take the first steps to actually owning a home. You'll never regret it. You will not regret it. Homeowners, we're up 300% over the last 30 years. Even with the worst housing correction in human history, owning a home, homeowners win in the long run.
Yeah. Well, and I've said this before, the reason to own a home right now, and the reason why this is such a good time to buy a home is, interest rates are higher, but use that to your advantage. And again, that's why you should hire a real estate agent who knows what the heck they're doing, because you can write offers that help your interest rate drop. And let's say a home is listed at $400,000 and your current interest rate is 6.3%. Okay, well, we know the seller is going to take $375 for this home, so we're going to offer them full price. We're going to offer them $400,000, but we're going to ask them to use $25,000 or maybe less, whatever you actually end up wanting that net to be. We're going to ask that seller to use that money towards paying down points on our interest rate. So now guess what? You got a house cheaper that maybe if the market goes back to a super seller's market, that house could be $460. And now on top of that, you also got a cheaper house and the interest rate is going to be a lot lower because you just had the seller pay it down. So use a realtor who knows how to do that, because unfortunately there's a lot of realtors who never even consider doing that. On these. It's like, hey, let's buy down your interest rate. If that's your fear right now, no worries. We're going to get you a cheaper house. So we're going to get you the house that you wanted that for a lot less than it would have been a year ago. And we're going to make sure that your interest rate is lower than right now it's 6.5%. Guess what? We're going to get your interest rate down to the low 5s because we're going to use that money to get that paid down. And it's money you're paying for the house on your mortgage, but the seller is going to take that money and essentially give it to you and give it to the lender to buy down points for you. So use that to your advantage, and suddenly you got the best of both worlds. You've got a house for a lot less money than you would be getting in an extreme seller's market, and you're going to have the interest rates that are, really not bad whatsoever.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people come to me and think they have to do 20% down, and they have to offer a lot less on the home. There's ways to maximize that money to get you a cheaper payment than that scenario. Like, I've run the math all kinds of different times where people will put that much money down, they'll nickel and dime the price down as low and feel like they're winning, when really you're leaving so much money on the table that can be used to, like you said, buy down points, buy out mortgage insurance, maybe pay off other debts that take you more out of your monthly budget than having the home price a little bit more. And there's more flexibility now than there is. And still, it's not as flexible as we've seen in a true buyer's market. We're still in a seller's market, but there is more flexibility, especially in certain price ranges. But there's so many times I have a client that shows up and says, hey, the house is $4, I'm going to offer $375. And we try to tell them, don't offer 375, offer 4, but get that money back. And they're kind of like, well, wait, that seems counterintuitive. Why would I want to spend $25,000 more for the house?
Yeah.
Because that $25,000 on a mortgage can be more served on buying down rate, buying out mortgage insurance, paying off other debts, maybe doing some of the improvements on the home. Maybe it needs carpet or maybe paint or finish the landscaping. There might be some other ways to use that money right at the purchase than having to pull the money back out with a line of credit or a refinance or something along those lines. So that's where, when you're working with experts, we can show you option A, B, and C. Kind of go with what you thought. Here's something you haven't considered. And usually it's somewhere in the middle. Usually it's like, okay, let's go with option B, in the middle. But not having those options really limits your ability to maximize your home purchase.
Right.
It's not just another car loan. It's an investment. It's a home. There's so many things you can do with a home that you can't do with other stocks or bonds or crypto or all the other things that are out there. And the fact that you and I have talked about so many times that it's such a locked in, controllable payment that doesn't fluctuate nearly as much as anything else that's in the marketplace. So it's just a great time to buy. It really is. And so many people were scared off because it was so much harder, or they're getting outbid, or they throw out all these offers and they just got burned out and tired of it. But I have so many people that keep saying, this is the year I'm going to buy, and they just don't take the steps to do it.
Yeah.
This is the time to do it. This is the first of the year. Let's get going. Maybe you can't buy a home right now. Maybe you need 6 months. But the sooner you start, the sooner you're turning the key on your own home. You're opening your own garage. I mean, there's something about that.
Look at it from both ways. Let's say, okay, my fear is that, all right, well, I'm going to buy right now. And if I buy right now, I'm going to be upset in 6 months because I could have had a better deal back then. Okay, so if we buy right now, if the market skyrockets, it's more than likely because the interest rates dropped a whole bunch. Congratulations, the home that you just bought for $400,000 is still... You still paid $400,000, and now you can refinance. So you still only paid $400,000, but now you get that better interest rate that you're at. But because you already own the home, it's not like you say, oh, well, now I have to pay all this extra money in order to still own the home. No, you own that home at the price that you're buying for right now, and you have the opportunity to get the interest rates that they're getting better. Now let's switch that. So let's say you buy this home and you've got it at this 6-ish rate, somewhere in there. And let's say the market goes way down. Okay. So now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, I'm going to be upset in 6 months if the market drops so much because maybe now my house isn't worth that much. Okay. First off, it's very rare that we ever see a market fall and it stays that way for more than a pretty short period of time. Yep. Usually it stays that way and then it starts going back up. I mean, look at 2008. All right, let's say it's 4 years before it starts going back up. That'd be a long drop. And not many people are projecting the market to just fall through the floor like that whatsoever.
And even then, if it happens, most likely rates are going to have to go up even more to offset it. Right. So the debt servicing is going to be the same. And everybody's worried about what their home is worth. You only need to worry about what it's worth when you're going to sell it. Yeah. If you're going to be living in that home 5-10 years, it's going to fluctuate in value. Yeah, most likely up over the long run. That's what we've seen for the entire course of the housing industry.
Yeah.
So it is something where, there's a concern the home's going to go down, but okay, what does it matter? You're not selling it anyway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter so much. Your payment, again, is what really, really matters.
Yeah. We good?
I don't know. Something's
beeping. We're good. Oh, my camera switched off. That's okay. You don't need to look at me. Anyways, but let us know kind of what your thoughts are. I know a lot of people they always have a fear of buying a house. And unfortunately, that won't ever go away because there's never going to be a time where, hey, interest rates are only 2% and we only need to and we can buy this house for $100,000, this beautiful house, right? That's not going to happen. So the greatest thing about buying right now is that right now you can just keep dropping your interest rate as the interest rates go down. But you're buying the house at the number that it's at right now, and there will be a time that house is worth significantly more than it is. Especially, I mean, once again, all it takes is one big natural disaster in one certain part of the country, and everywhere else is suddenly increasing quickly. So,
yeah. Yep.
Well, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Let us know what questions you might have about real estate in general, and then what maybe do's and don'ts you should or shouldn't be watching for when you're buying a house. But check out some of our old videos that we put on here because there's a lot of good information about why maybe this is the best time for you to buy and why maybe you should do this, shouldn't do that. Let us know what questions you might have for us, and we'd love to answer them on here.
Great. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Click like and subscribe.